Oregon's DMOs. The information on this slide was taken from a destination needs survey. You're getting a little sneak preview of that. That was conducted earlier this year. And I just want to point out that the award amount you've determined represents 50% or more of the annual budget of most DMOs in this state. This is one of the factors that we have to take into account when considering what kinds of organizations are most likely to be successful in this cycle. It requires additional capacity for organizations to steward an award of this size. The visible need for increased staffing capabilities provides another important consideration for cycle design, as does the percentage of respondents that would spend additional funds on marketing. We must assure that our funding helps recipients in the areas where they most need support. So with those slides, we've shared some of the current learnings that are guiding us as we move forward in this process. And now we want to learn from you about how to make this program meaningful. While we're certainly happy to take any questions that you may have, we would particularly love to draw on your expertise in considering the two questions on the slide in relation to this larger award cycle. In asking the first question about what impacts you're hoping Travel Oregon achieves with this investment, we aren't necessarily looking for specific projects or organizations at this time. Instead, we're curious about the ways these dollars can help us advance our mission and what measurable difference they might make for the Oregon visitor industry and the people who participate in it. We also know that we think better when we think together. Michelle and I are both verbal learners, so we would like to know from you what considerations we haven't yet included in our planning, and what other learnings, context, or nuance should staff think about. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, and Chair Willits, I'll let you facilitate. You're doing such a good job.
Thank you. Doesn't feel like it.
Look, gold star, gold star.
Yeah. Let's start silver. Commissioners?
Thank you. I have questions.
Harish.
How would you be measuring the result of the success if somebody's granted this? Because a lot of DMOs, as you said, they have less than 1 million budget, and then it's so broad that you can even ask for a position, and then how do we make sure it doesn't become an inefficient DMO with one extra employee and then the result is the same?
I think that is a very good question, and that is something that we'd be working. I think one of the ways we would address that is to be really clear when we publish the grant guidelines about what we expect successful projects to accomplish and what measures we and they would be using to evaluate that success. So depending on the focus area of this grant cycle, the investment impact that you all decide and we decide together that we want to make, I think we would lay those things out early in the process, which is why we want that planning time with our internal strategy teams, because Travel Oregon has developed KPIs and measurements for our impacts, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to learn from those and share how Travel Oregon is assessing impact with those organizations to lessen some of that evaluation and measurement burden on them.
So other question is, hope it never happens, but somebody gets $1 million and then we find out, or you find out after spending first 100,000 is not working. Will there be something that says, okay, let's stop here, or they still get their whole $1 million?
So the way that the competitive grant program has worked in the past is that it operates on a reimbursement basis. And so instead of giving all of the money up front and then stepping back, we provide a portion of the funding at the start of the grant period, and then through continued monitoring and communication, we allocate additional funds or pay out additional funds. They're already allocated, but pay out additional funds as the applicant demonstrates success. And so I would anticipate that, especially with a large cycle like this, we would structure it similarly. So there would be checkpoints along the way. And if there reached a point where the organization was unable or unwilling or unsuccessful in continuing the project, that we would discuss ending the funding early.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, Deb, thank you very much. Great presentation, and I love your question that you presented to the Commission. You know, first of all, I know this is a lot has changed recently in the environment in which we live in, but I still say this. For me, the most important thing is that we continue with the diversity, equity, and inclusion lens as we move forward to these grants, because I've been very fortunate as I've traveled around the state to see the impact that it's had on many communities. And I'm going to use Antelope for an example. Just going over there, seeing what has been accomplished. People like Brittany, I value tremendously, and having people like that to come not just to the commission, but share the work and how much it's impacted their community with the rest of the state. Because I think from a communication standpoint, the more that we continue to share the results of your work, with the grants, it'd be very helpful. And if you haven't been over to Antelope, Todd, you know it probably better than anyone. I think it's an important piece of the work that you do. And, Todd knows me quite well. I'm very direct. When I see something I like, I have no problems in effectively communicating. Thank you. But, with that diversity, equity, and inclusion lens, as long as you continue to keep that, that's very important to me. That's all I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
I want to say, as always, thank you, first and foremost. But I appreciate the fact that we're now going to lay this program against the 10-year strategic vision. We've seen the success of that with so many of our other programs, right? So, in speaking of, the diversity lens, the racial equity lens, making sure that we're, supporting that work, which you have done. I think we did that in the last grant cycle, and you did that very successfully. One of the things. And we're always reminded with these presentations that these are life-changing and these are also community-changing, right? So the economic development that, is generated from these grants is so incredibly important. I have experienced it firsthand living in rural Oregon as a Coos Bay City Councilor, the work that this agency has done and continuing to drive economic development into rural communities. I know we had a lengthy discussion at our last meeting in June talking specifically about the large grant programs. And so one of the things I would challenge this group to think about is making sure that those grant funds are multi-regional. If we're going to put that level of investment into a project, I would like it to touch multi-regions. Maybe you've already talked about this. When we're talking about big dollars like that, I don't even know if we can do this, so I'm looking at Todd. What about matching funds, right? So have we had those conversations, and forgive me if I should know this, conversations about maybe some matching dollars when we're dealing with, big dollars like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And those conversations have already begun. And while the last competitive grant cycle did not require matching funds, we certainly communicated that an organization that brought matching funds into the process would be more competitive. It is a stronger application. And so I'm already thinking about with these larger dollars, a match provides some level of security and confirmation of the success that I think, Commissioner Patel, you were getting at. How do we assure that the organization will be able to successfully complete the project? And that's a consideration.
Okay.
Commissioner Rowe.
While you guys are discussing, along that same vein, help me understand the way that you can help a smaller organization or a smaller community show that they can make this happen through a match. Mm-hmm. So you said something in your presentation, and I'm sorry I missed it, about an investment team that you'll start letting people who are applying speak with that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And maybe that will help me understand how we do show equity throughout the state in smaller regions in helping them achieve a place at the table where we're not just competing with a bigger organization or a bigger community that's going to have those kinds of funds available at the ready, So maybe speak to that a little bit more.
Of course. Yeah, sorry to use shorthand that might not be familiar to you, but our investments team is the group of the four of us that Michelle manages. And so Michelle is a member of the leader of that team. It's myself, Dawn Smallman, and then Suzanne Fallon-Tchaikovsky, who's joined our team. So would look to, in order to support organizations, I would be looking to do a similar outreach strategy as we did in the last cycle. So that included one-on-one conversations with interested applicants and myself. It included a series of informational webinars, not only to talk about the program goals overall, but specific strategies for finding success in impacting underserved populations, in presenting a strong budget. So there's some learning opportunities there as those applicants prepare to put in their application. And then more specifically, helping smaller communities find success. I think I would draw on what Commissioner DeNovo just pointed out, that with these larger investments, there's probably a desire to have a multi-community, multi-regional impact. And so I'd be looking for ways that those smaller communities could partner with other entities or other communities to leverage a larger project and find some success. But Michelle, did you want to add?
The only thing I would add to it is I think as part of this learning and developing what these guidelines look like, that's where we had the slide of who will be successful in this program. And we do want to have this lead up in time. So that's why there is the bit of extended timeline that's going to help us have some of these conversations that Deb's talking about with some of these smaller communities. But they might not be ready for this right now. They might not be prepared for it. And that's also where we're looking at this cycle being something that could be replicated, right? So these conversations with smaller communities, just allowing them to think about what can we do in our area? How can we collaborate with others to come in the future, potentially, for other larger scale investments? So I think it's a balancing act because we don't want to eliminate people from the start, right? So we're trying to find ways to engage with them initially and set them up for success through our programs. And that means that we have to be thinking about in the long term what large-scale investments look like. Is this just a one-off that we're doing? Or is this actually something that's going to be replicated, be something people can plan for a biennium from now, knowing that, hey, it makes sense for us to have a program that runs at $500,000 or more, because there's communities out there that are now actively engaging. They're feeding into one of our smaller grant programs to have some of these really monumental successes in their community. And similar to what happened with Wheel of the World, where it was a collaborative effort from the coast that really spiraled this engagement across the state, where Central Oregon started investing their own funds in this. So it wasn't through Travel Oregon Fund. So I think, again, we're trying to lay out an avenue for all to see themselves in it. But their first step might just be learning where they are in the process, as opposed to, oh, they're ready for these funds. So I think that's where we're trying to carry people through a spectrum.
I would thank you, Michelle, because I was add on to that. That's why I included in that initial timeline slide the orange dotted plans for a future cycle, because that's the other piece of that on-ramp that Michelle was talking about, is letting people know that if this cycle isn't a good fit, which happens regardless of award size, I have those conversations every cycle, letting people know when they can expect a next opportunity, and then what resources can we direct them to in the meantime that will help them get there. And that's where referrals to other Travel Oregon programs are helpful. We refer to other funders, and we look at technical assistance and professional development supports as well.
I think my only comments would be how we continue to run the small grant program. I would never want to see a match. Again, we've seen the effectiveness of giving those dollars, but when we talk about, one of the larger funding opportunities, I think matching grants, I don't know what that dollar looks like, but amount looks like, but I think that we need to, as a commission, consider that.
Michelle and Deb, I want to thank you for the presentation, and certainly want to thank Dawn and Susan's participation as well. And to Travel Oregon, I really appreciate Travel Oregon, including the commission in this process. That means a great deal, I believe, to all of us. And certainly providing that runway, not only for those applicants, but for the commission to onboard in this process. So my question in that onboarding is, we have our December training, and I was hopeful there might be an opportunity for us to dedicate some time in understanding the scope of responsibility for those commissioners participating in the grant process. And I think we spoke about 2 years ago to the date about KPIs and the impact these grants, whether small or large grant opportunities, are having within the communities and the industry. And I look forward to further discussions about that. Yeah, thank you.
Great presentation. I really support the comments from the commission here. Other considerations, I just completed a grant application for a marketplace concept we're working on. And one of the criteria was a video application. And the video application really allowed us to convey our message, what that project's going to be. And in past applications, you know, there's a paper form with all the technical stuff, but the video application allows you to really talk about the project, bring in partners, and so I think that was really impactful, I think, for the organization that was reviewing the applications. And then also I support the some type of match funding, whether it's in-kind, gap funding, just because skin in the game does, add a little more, motivation for the project.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the suggestion of the video applications. I know the South Dakota Arts and Tourism Commission has moved several years ago to video applications, and they saw a huge uptick in applications from tribal entities because not everybody tells their best story, and this is not just specific to tribal entities, but not everybody tells their best story in writing. Some of us are verbal communicators, and so opening that up to me is an accessibility consideration, so thank you for that.
All right. Well, Michelle and Deb and Dawn.
I'm so sorry,
Oh,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
I was slow to raise my hand. I apologize. Hello. Thank you both for the presentation today. Thank you, fellow commissioners, for really thoughtful questions and feedback. And I try to digest these things kind of in the context of everything that we're discussing, both as a commission and even in meetings like this today. David, your celebration of diversity, I think, is so critical, and making sure that we pursue opportunities like this with that lens. We've discussed privately and collectively at different times the Mark Twain quote that travel is fatal to prejudice. I know that David's work in international tourism has been very, very instrumental in a lot of the success that we've seen. When I think of the story that Commissioner Gremmels shared a few minutes ago about his visit to the Royal Horticultural Society in England, and the significance that carries for Oregon as a tourism destination, and what it can mean for us when we do these, again, a theme this week, these bold, creative, enterprising actions that separate us from our competition, because make no mistake, this is always a competitive environment in which we work. When I think of your comments, past Chair DeNovo, as it relates to making sure that we touch all 7, if we're going to consider a large grant opportunity, that we really want to make sure it is of benefit to all 7 of Oregon's tourism regions and our statewide economy, because the consequences of a big investment are, well, big, I guess, if that's not redundant again. It's through these lenses, through international travel, through your discussion. I immediately thought, for example, Commissioner Gemmels, that we have nonstop air service between London Heathrow and Portland on British Airways. That may not be as strategic an investment for Travel Oregon to participate in a program like the Royal Horticultural Society if it weren't in a market where there is direct access. And where my brain is drawn through all of this is the conversation as it relates to reopening, opportunistically reopening a large grant consideration, is that one of the catalysts for this discussion was the restoration of nonstop Asia air service. And we've all seen stories about the impact of Asia air service in the past and what it has meant to our market, what it means for some of our biggest employers, and what international travel can and should mean to our statewide economy. And of course, PDX is the gateway to international travel throughout Oregon. So I know that one of the conversations that we began early was being supportive of this as an opportunity to help the Commission take a big and bold stance in considering the restoration, contributing to the restoration of nonstop Asia air service into PDX. And so as I think of all of these things, even down to the idea of the necessity of matching grants to protect a big investment. I mean, we generate $45 million in annual revenue. 10% of that is $4.5 million in annual contributions to our statutorily mandated competitive grants program. And so the kinds of numbers we're talking about really would represent a disproportionately large investment for us. And I appreciate the idea of making sure that we secure that investment in ways that would be less risky than some of the really thoughtful small grants that we attribute. Maybe the last thing that I would say in follow-up to all of that is thank you for the increased engagement with the Commission. We receive a presentation on grants every year when we do our annual Commission training, and I think that the opportunity to allow maybe a committee of members of the Commission who are particularly passionate about something like the grants program to be able to participate on a more regular cadence. Deb, you said subject to the time investment that members of the Commission may have, you may find an audience in certain Commission members who would really like to be in partnership with you, and then communicate back with the Commission on ways to help impact Commission engagement, direct engagement in the grants program. So it's such a fun and spirited conversation. I am always touched, emotionally touched, when we get to talk about your work. So thank you.
You know, Commissioner Youngblood, I appreciate your comments. Sorry, Chair. And I want to say this, with the large grants, what's also in the back of my mind has always been, you know, when you touched on the scope of work, but I look at that return on investment. When I think of the Canadian market currently where we're at 30, 35% down, what the impact is not just into the Portland area, but it's throughout the state. You know, these visitors are going to Central Oregon, Eastern Oregon. It's very critical. So when I think of the large grants, my thought is not just the local, but looking at the long haul within the U.S. and then the international market, and how we can really leverage and really reposition ourselves, because I've seen the work. My success in the international market, I can't really say it's my success. It's just a collaborative effort, because I would not have received any visitors or really got myself positioned without the work of Travel Oregon and other partners, Brand USA, throughout. And so the relationships that Travel Oregon has had over the years. I've been very fortunate to travel with Todd and the team and seeing what they do and how they do it, and very quietly, like many, leverage that. So when I think of these large grants, that's what I look at is what does that return looks like, not just local, but how much is that going to really impact the small businesses throughout the state? If I'm in, St. John Day, Oregon, if I'm in Antelope, if I'm in Enterprise, other places, it's like, is this investment, is outreach, is it really adding value to those communities? So I appreciate the work you do, but I think that's the piece is every step of the way that we look at the criteria and what have you and say, what's the return on the investment as it relates to our communities, whether or not helping to bring other corporate business into the area to help create jobs. I think there's opportunities there that we need to continue to look at that, and that we can continue to leverage these grants more to help all the communities throughout the state of Oregon.
Thank you.
Greg, I have one. I just want to, sorry, I know we're so chatty today. I just want to, I really agree with Commissioner Youngblood's comment about, we talk a lot about commissioner engagement, and he just recommended perhaps commissioners be more involved, not just, sorry, am I taking things away from you? Okay, I'll just be quiet, and Chair Willits, I will return it back to you.
Thank you so much. Where was I? Yeah, here we go. Kevney, Michelle, Deb, Dawn, not here. All of you passionate about this. And you did an amazing job presenting. And then you did a more amazing job asking the questions from the commission. And we owe you answers. Those answers aren't necessary, and I'll give you mine. And I'm a visual person myself, and I see the state of Oregon filled with water and a drop going in some place, and the echoes of that resonating throughout the state. That's my vision with these larger grants. If you're a visual learner. And you really afforded us an opportunity to share that, our visual or our structural sense of answering these questions, but you also allowed us aspirational time. If we take the time as a commission, sit with that question and respond to you with our aspirational desires for these investments. And a great one is the other considerations that your staff and your staff should consider when doing these. That's a wonderful opportunity for us. I would expect that the commission would take time and get back to you with those who would like to receive those communications, because you asked for them.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we did ask for them, and we think this is important to engage the commission in this
Yes.
way, especially as the commission is the body that moved this forward.
Yes.
So we want to engage with you.
Where would you like those sent? Where would they be best served to be?
You can send those to myself and copy Deb on it, so we can provide you. We'll make sure Matthew has our contact info.
Okay,
and he'll share it
perfect.
with you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And you saw the passion for it as we got going here, to articulate that. I think you will find that commissioners are raising their hand to, if an opportunity arises to sit on that review panel. You have engaged commissioners that would like to be a part of that. So thank you for that offer. And too bad you're going to have to deal with people fighting for those positions, I think. So thank you very much. And commissioners, thank you for your comments. Sorry to interrupt, Lucinda, but you stole some of my thunder, Scott. Yeah, thank you very much for your time today and presenting to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Deb. Great job. And commissioners, if I may, if in doubt about where to channel any responses, any additional thoughts that you may have, And you may have several. I mean, you may shoot an email off this afternoon, and you may have some more thoughts over the weekend and send another email on Monday. All good. Please. Feel free to channel those through Matt also, and Matt will make sure that they get to Michelle and to Deb. You can certainly communicate with Michelle and Deb directly, but if you don't have their email addresses, I know you have Matt's, and I know you know how to track him down. You can certainly funnel it all through Matt. So, all right. With that, commissioners, we are on to our closing update and report for you today. And as I mentioned, this is the one where we're taking a little bit of time to pause and look in the rearview mirror at some of the work that was done during the 23-25 biennium. So it is my pleasure at this time to invite Petra Hackworth, who is really is the VP of Insights and Impact, unlike what I gave to Kevin yesterday. But Petra is joined by Hannah Hicks, who is our strategy manager. So I will turn it over to the two of you to provide our look back report.
Great. Thank you so much. So nice to be with all of you commissioners here in beautiful Yachats. Yes, I am Petra Hackworth, the Vice President of Insights and Impact, not of the brand team, just so we all know who's who. I'm so happy to introduce Hannah Hicks to you today, who is on the Insights and Impact team with me as our strategy manager, and I think she has someone special she'd like to say hello to.
Yes, to show how important this is to me, I invited my family to tune in all the way from North Carolina, so shout out Mom, Dad, and Luke. Hope I make you proud.
Hi, family. I've met her mom before, so it's lovely that she's watching right now. So Hannah was promoted into the strategy manager role in the spring. She was on Brian's team as the research specialist, also on the Insights and Impact team. So we're just thrilled to have her as a strategy manager. Her focus will be to ensure that the Travel Oregon team accomplish as much as we can of the 10-year vision by the end of it, and also to implement effective biennial plans for us to focus on. You will see that she has hit the ground running, and also, just to make sure you all know, this is her first commission meeting where she's presenting. She has attended commission meetings before. So in today's presentation, you'll hear about the strategic progress of the 23-25 biennium that helps us work towards our 10-year vision. And we'll be focusing on key highlights of 7 of the strategies in the 10-year vision. This is a new report for Travel Oregon. We really thought it was important to take a moment to pause, to look back on the 2 years we just accomplished, and it's just as important as the work we have ahead of us. So please look in your inboxes, like the next couple weeks, you'll be getting a written report that you can do some deeper review. And this report, just as a reminder, is not an exhaustive list or report out on all the work we do at Travel Oregon. There's so many projects and programs that we do that will not be highlighted in this 23-25 look back report. This is really highlighting 7 of the 19 strategies that we focused on in the last 2 years. So you've seen this slide before. The yellow star is where we are now. We just started the 25-27 biennium. And again, we're looking at the 23-25 biennium that we just closed up. And time is flying. At the end of this biennium, we will be halfway through the 10-year vision, and we have a lot of work to do. So I don't know if that's surprising to hear, but it's like, whoa, we're almost done with 5 years. So it's pretty exciting times. This is a slide you've also seen before, but we thought it was a good time to remind you all that each biennium we select a portion of the 19 strategies to focus on in the biennium. Once we have the strategies decided on, we pick a team lead. They put a cross-functional team together, and they are charged with action planning, budget requests, and also execution of the action plan supporting our strategic vision KPIs. So using feedback from our tourism industry partner survey, we've already talked about that earlier today. This is a survey that we all use quite heavily. We call it TIPS internally. And also with the selection criteria the exec team created quite a few years ago, Travel Oregon focused on 7 of the 19 strategies in the last biennium. And focusing on 7 strategies has allowed for deeper engagement and stronger cross-functional execution, which is really a goal of Travel Oregon, to work as cross-functionally as possible. So once the strategies are selected, like I mentioned, there's a team lead that is chosen, and they put together a cross-functional team to expand existing work and kickstart new programs. So as Hannah walks through the wins from the last biennium, keep in mind, again, this is just a snapshot of the work. It's not an exhaustive list of all the programs and projects that we complete and work on at Travel Oregon. So commission meetings are a great time to reground everyone on Travel Oregon's objectives, which I know you're all familiar with. Oregon's tourism economy is flourishing. Oregon is striving to be a place of equity. Oregon delivers remarkable experiences, and Oregon respects its natural environment. So, and you'll see here the strategies that were selected for the action plans in the 23-25 biennium. So you'll notice as we walk through this, we will not be talking about the environmental objective. This is work that we're really just starting. We're just starting the planning phases. We're working on the KPIs, so you'll definitely be hearing more about this objective in the future. So to start us off, I'll have Hannah share with us some strategic wins under the economy objective. Hannah, take it away.
Thank you, Petra. I'm really excited to be presenting alongside of you. My new role is quite special because while I help facilitate the strategic planning process and project manage strategic work at a high level, for the most part, I am just standing by as my amazing colleagues execute this great work. They are the experts and have that deep level understanding that I can't possibly possess for the dozens of projects I'm going to talk about today. Therefore, I ask that if you have a specific question on one of these projects or want to know more, then please let us know and we will follow up with you and make sure that the appropriate staff member who has that expert knowledge can get directly to you, or I might ask if they're in the room to speak up as well. You might also feel a sense of deja vu because we have referenced many of these projects I'm about to speak on in the strategic plan progress report and have provided deep dives at various other commission meetings, including yesterday. Great, so we'll get started with under the experiences objective, the advanced perception of tourism, the economy objective, the advanced perception of tourism value strategy, which you can see on the screen. Calls for improving perception of the value of tourism, increasing advocacy among the workforce, residents, and policymakers. The first win under this strategy that we want to highlight for you is our widely successful resident sentiment study, which I actually am qualified to talk about, since that was largely under my last role along with Javier Prada-Torres. And under this, we implemented a strategic outreach campaign for this study, resulting in more than 6,000 respondents to this survey, with representation from all of Oregon's 36 counties. And I want to shout out to the Welcome Centers for distributing the QR codes for this study and garnering an additional 500 responses for us. So really proud of that initiative. And the high number of responses to this study allowed us to create a separate tourism workforce sentiment study. So from this study, we were able to baseline data on support for tourism and perceived social, economic, cultural, and environmental impacts for both the workforce and residents. And then, since a component of the strategy is policymaker engagement, we developed the Policymaker Outreach Score, a tracking tool that measures engagement between Travel Oregon staff and policymakers by capturing dates, contact methods, audiences, topics, and outcomes. Third, we increased policy engagement from the tourism workforce via industry trainings on policy topics and activations such as National Travel and Tourism Week, which allowed a greater public understanding of the value of tourism through the press push on our economic impact report. We created a TLT, and for my family watching, that stands for Transient Lodging Tax, anniversary video as an industry and community education tool to showcase the value of tourism, which we premiered at the Governor's Conference, you might remember. Finally, we used findings from that workforce and resident study to inform the Improve Visitor Behavior Action Plan for this current 25-27 biennium. Now we're going to pivot to our experiences objective and share a snapshot of associated strategies active in the last biennium. So the first one in this objective I'll talk about is attract and retain tourism workforce, which is about advancing educational and career opportunities to develop, attract, and retain our tourism workforce. Over the past biennium, Travel Oregon took deliberate steps to make sure workforce development was actively advanced across the state. We started by building stronger connections with workforce leaders. Travel Oregon cultivated relationships with 5 of Oregon's 9 local workforce boards, helping ensure that tourism jobs were part of the broader workforce development conversation. These included East Cascades Work, Clackamas Workforce Partnership, Work Systems, Rogue Workforce Partnership, and Eastern Oregon Workforce Board. Additionally, relationships with the remaining 4 boards have been cultivated by the Oregon Hospitality Foundation, in close partnership with Travel Oregon. So we've really had touch points with all 9, which is really great. These relationships laid the groundwork for stronger partnerships and more awareness about the real value of tourism careers. We also refined our tourism industry partner survey, or TIPS, by adding workforce-specific questions. That change gave us more actionable data and a better understanding of what our industry partners need when it comes to recruitment, retention, and professional development. In addition, we continue to show up in the spaces where tourism and workforce development intersect. We sponsored the annual Working Together conference and hosted a panel focused on hospitality, helping shift perceptions and spotlight the tourism industry as a serious career path. One of the most tangible tools we developed was the Travel Oregon 101 video, a foundational resource designed to help people new to the industry or those exploring it understand what Travel Oregon does, what we offer, and how we can support them. It's a great example of how we're investing in industry onboarding and long-term education. All this work contributed to a measurable impact. Industry employment grew by 480 travel-generated jobs, bringing the total to over 121,000 tourism jobs in Oregon in 2024. And then now we're at Assist Communities in Crisis, providing resources and assistance to those businesses and communities that are experiencing or have experienced crises. So work under this biennium lived under our industry communications team, and you might recall that Julia Amato presented on this work about a year ago. The big win of the strategy was the development of a crisis communications plan for the agency and industry in consultation with other state tourism boards, Oregon state agencies, and Travel Oregon's communications PR firm of record. This was a huge lift for our team. And during this process, we recognized the need for a plan inclusive of the industry as a whole, rather than solely for the agency, and subsequently formed an industry task force with representatives from each region. We supported the 5 regions and sub-region of Tualatin Valley that did not have existing crisis communications plans by enlisting our PR agency of record and investing funds to support the creation of regional crisis communications that align with the Travel Oregon plan. Finally, in alignment with the recommendations from Governor Kotek's Central City Task Force, we granted $600,000 to Travel Portland to assist with Portland's recovery, and gave another $300,000 in contracts with 6 destination-based organizations. Over 70% of the grant funds received were distributed directly to local tourism businesses and local event producers through grants and sponsorships, and the remaining funds supported programs designed to lift up restaurants, food carts, and BIPOC makers. This strategy is actually a combination of 2 strategies, as you'll notice, that were combined due to high amount of crossover in goals. This is our Expand Destination Management Engagement strategy that provides timely feedback loops with different communities and partners, as well as reduce high visitation pressures by investing in niche product development. So this work largely lived under our Destination Stewardship Department, with the most significant project being the Central Oregon Destination Management Studio, which again, you've received deep dive presentations on in the past. For those that don't know, the purpose of the studio was to build a long-term strategy for managing tourism in a way that enhances both visitor experiences and community livability. Over 9 months, we worked with a diverse steering committee to establish priorities and ensure the strategy reflected community needs. From there, we launched an extensive engagement phase, holding 6 community sessions that brought together more than 150 partners from across the region. These conversations built trust, surfaced shared priorities, and equipped local leaders to take action. The learnings from this studio are already shaping work in this region, in this biennium, laying a strong foundation for long-term destination management in Central Oregon, balancing the needs of visitors with the well-being of local communities. We also set important baselines like resident sentiment and tips to better understand the tourism ecosystem and identify pressure points, which is something I presented on actually in Redmond as part of this destination management studio. So you'll notice research and data informs many of our strategies. Also, we partnered with the Travel Foundation, a leading international sustainable tourism organization, to help us lead the development of a common understanding and sample case studies of destination management tactics that could be applicable in Oregon. We then held 2 sessions at Destination Boot Camp on these topics, a multi-day event and designed to bring together Oregon's tourism industry leaders focused on destination development, management, and stewardship. Okay, then I think this is the last strategy in this objective, support development of experiences for underserved. So this includes development of new and existing tourism-related facilities and products to better serve historically and currently underserved and under-resourced communities. So the past biennium, we made major strides towards making Oregon a more inclusive and sustainable destination. Today, I'm going to talk about two of those projects. The first project is Wheel the World, and you were lucky enough to hear from the dynamite Kate Sapel and Kevin Wright yesterday on this project. She and others are the experts in this space. I'll only give a brief summary. I think it's worth celebrating more than once. As a reminder, through our partnership with Wheel the World, Oregon became the first state in the nation to be accessibility verified. We worked with communities across the state to access more than 300 businesses. Today, travelers can find over 750 accessible listings across 43 Oregon destinations. Beyond verification, each business received tailored improvement reports, and we're integrating this work into TravelOregon.com and the Otis platform to make accessible travel planning seamless. In September, we're launching a statewide marketing campaign to showcase this milestone and position Oregon as a national leader in inclusive travel. More to come. Second, we launched Recreation Ready in 2024 to help communities design outdoor recreation projects that boost local economies, foster equity, and protect natural resources. In its first phase, we partnered with the 4 rural communities you see on screen on projects like water recreation, trail development, and dark sky tourism. Through our collaboration with Empowering Access, a disability, equity, and inclusion consulting group, accessibility was built into planning from the very beginning, ensuring these new experiences will be welcoming to all. Together, these two initiatives reflect Travel Oregon's commitment to building tourism economy that is inclusive, community-driven, and sustainable. Now we're moving on to our equity strategies, but you'll notice that equity was emphasized in other strategies as well. So just because it does not live in this objective does not mean it's not implemented with an equity lens. So this is the strategy of Elevate Voices of Underserved Communities, which you heard Lisa Edel speak about yesterday. So I'm really happy to celebrate this work again of our amazing industry relations team. In this biennium, we continued to build meaningful relationships with our tribal partners. We held virtual and in-person meetings with Oregon's 9 tribes to discuss defined strategic priority areas and special projects such as signage, Oregon Guide to Indian Country, asset development, and communications. These meetings also allowed space for guest speakers and problem solving. And a new area for us this year was that we developed partnerships with 18 Pride festivals across the state, totaling $68,000 in sponsorship dollars. At the Oregon Governor's Conference on Tourism, which most of you attended, you might have noticed we emphasize underserved communities through our accessibility vendors and wide representation of breakout and keynote speakers. In addition, new during this biennium, we hosted 3 She Leads events across the state, celebrating women in tourism and hospitality. Thanks to the industry relations team, we have built continuity and trust through intentional, respectful, sustained community outreach. And then this is the last strategy I'll speak on. Integrate DEI agency-wide, emphasized internally and looking at from programming to procurement to employee recruitment and training. Over the past biennium, Travel Oregon made steady progress in embedding equity and inclusion throughout the organization. Here's a few highlights that we're proud to share with you. All hiring teams completed an unconscious bias training, a structured model that equips staff to recognize bias and make equitable hiring decisions. When interviewing, we employed a standard rubric in order to ensure that each candidate received equal consideration and implicit bias couldn't play a role. This, coupled with a more diverse candidate base, resulted in an increase in diverse hires to the agency. This strategy is an area that Travel Oregon continues to invest strongly in, so you'll hear more about that, I'm sure. So that concludes the wins portion of our look back report. We want to emphasize that these strategies that I've been discussing do not close at the end of that biennium. Rather, they are ongoing. And as a reminder, we are in the process of finalizing a written report that you can expect by the end of the month. It will be also published on our website on the 23-25 strategic plan page. We plan to do this report every 2 years, so stay tuned. So we just discussed a lot of positive wins, and I want to take a moment to address that we also gained some key learnings in this work as well. At our August quarterly business review, we dove deep into the challenges faced with implementing this work. Today I will share a snapshot of that discussion. First, we learned the importance of definitional alignment. For example, under the strategy Elevate Voices, we had to define our terms under-resourced and underserved to ensure we're speaking the same language and aligning our programs appropriately. We also heard from staff that it felt like some strategies were expedited before other more foundational work had started, which is feedback we're taking into future selection processes. Flexibility is key. Some of these action plans were created during COVID or before the program lead was identified. So once those leads were identified or new staff were hired, we used their expertise to pivot the plans when necessary, as some things no longer made sense. Lastly, program leads managing large-scale initiatives often face capacity constraints while also maintaining their core delivery responsibilities. This feedback helps us improve our annual and biannual planning processes to hopefully avoid that as much as we can in the future. Like we said at the beginning, it's important not only for us at Travel Oregon to look to the future and plan, but also look back and see what we can learn from past experiences. Now we'll finish the presentation with an overview of our progress towards key performance indicator goals, which will seem familiar from past presentations by the larger-than-life Brian Mullaney. Over the course of the biennium, the team made immense progress in cementing our KPIs, tracking KPI baselines, and establishing goals for our KPIs. As of now, we have 16 of 18 KPIs baselined and 13 of 18 KPIs with goals established. Our aim is to meet or exceed all of our KPI goals by the end of June 2032, the end of the 10-year vision. Additionally, the team has created the new 10-year strategic vision dashboard pictured on this slide and published in the latest strategic plan progress report to help both the agency and the industry track progress towards our shared goals. I'll now cover our progress towards the KPIs that have goals set. Here you see our KPIs for Oregon's tourism economy, which are visitor spend, tax revenue, and tourism employment. While our economic prosperity indicators such as visitor spend and tax revenue are showing positive growth, the pace will need to accelerate to meet current 2032 targets, highlighting a key area of strategic focus going forward. These KPI focus areas are being addressed in the 25-27 biennium through action plan work and other strategic initiatives within the organization. We remain confident that we can move our KPIs closer to the goals over the next 2 years while maintaining KPIs that are already meeting their goals. Now on the screen, you will see resident sentiment data, including resident perceptions of the value of tourism across 4 dimensions, measured by our biennial resident sentiment study. These results came from our study fielded in 2024, and as you saw, informed multiple strategies in the last and current biennium. The blue bars represent positive perception, and the orange represents negative perception. To quote the research guru himself, Javier Parada Torres, we want to see tall blue bars and short orange bars. Our goal is for positive perceptions to exceed negative, and positive perceptions score 3.1 or higher. We met all our goals here. There's also opportunity to improve perception among specific community groups, particularly residents of color, whose views tend to be less favorable of tourism's impacts than the general population, which is something that also informs our strategic initiatives. The findings from the study help inform a number of our strategies. Looking at the bottom chart and our support for tourism development score, you can see we're slightly below our goal of scoring 1 or higher. But we're confident that continued work with our Advance the Perception of Value tourism value strategy and others as well will continue to move this number in the correct direction. Finally, here are our baseline visitor sentiment KPIs. They remain strong across the board, although they are still slightly below long-term goal targets, but that's why you set goals, so that you can grow. We're still confident that these scores will meet our goals by June 2032, and I'll point out that these scores are higher than many of our Western competitor states. So I will end by jumping to the present, and as a reminder, and as presented in the December Commission meeting, here are selected strategies for the current biennium. Some are new and others are carried over, as you'll see. Again, this is not an exhaustive list of all the strategic work happening, as more is happening in core delivery. But we're proud of what we were able to achieve over the course of the 23-25 strategic plan and the progress we've made towards realizing our vision of Oregon as a welcoming place where tourism drives economic prosperity, benefits the natural environment, and celebrates rich, diverse cultures. Looking back not only affords us the opportunity to celebrate milestones, but to gain knowledge and insight on what we can do better or differently going forward. Learning from this past biennium will inform the work we do and how we do it during this biennium. So as we embark on the 25-27 strategic plan, Travel Oregon staff remain committed to collaborating with industry partners toward fulfillment of our shared 10-year strategic vision. So thank you for joining us on this journey. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll open it up to any questions. Thanks so much for your attention.
Great job. I'll say great job to both of you, but especially, I know this is inaugural presentation, Hannah. Really, really nice job.
Thank you.
So, commissioners, questions for this panel? Commissioner Youngblood.
Pedro, Hannah, and Hannah, and Hannah, and Hannah. How much time went into the development of this presentation?
Oh, months. I mean, yeah.
I never want a triumph of effort like this to go under-celebrated. We have the benefit of sitting here and listening to I should have timed this, how many minute presentation, but to appreciate how thoughtfully constructed and deconstructed, and I'm going to move this to this column, and I need to put that in that column. You led with grace and generosity at the beginning of your comments by acknowledging the content experts throughout the organization, and you continued that thread all the way through the presentation. I mean, even giving Brian some celebrated recognition. And I'm just saying that's something. I just have to tell you that having enjoyed presentations like this, thought I was going to get through one of these. Thanks. This was really special. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Youngblood. That's good feedback too, and just because this is a new process for us and we want to keep building on how we do our reports of looking back. So open to all feedback. I really appreciate your words.
No, fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to just, like I said in the beginning, just take a moment, take a breath. You know, at Travel Oregon, we're always at full speed ahead. We're always looking to the future, and it's just, you know, Brian really drilled this into us. Thank you, Brian, sitting behind me, that we just need to take a moment to breathe and be like, okay, what was in the vision? What is in the strategic plan that we have for the last 2 years? What did we accomplish? What did we learn? And I think this is such an important role that Hannah has, and just working with all the other teams to, you know, see what they wanted to highlight, and just it does take a village, but Hannah did a great job leading us through this.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I think what I always appreciate from the staff, and thank you, Brian, for encouraging the team to think about that, is it's always about, right, driving more economic development, go, 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 go. And it is nice to take a moment to really look at what we've done well, to look at opportunities for improvement. And we talk about this being a learning organization, and we continue to do that. I say we, it's really you. You continue to do that every day to the benefit of Oregon and to the benefit of the communities of Oregon, because we continue to see these amazing programs come out. The Wheel of the World is just the most recent example we got to hear yesterday. So thanks for the work, and thanks for the time.
The SPPR report that you received, there's so much more in there, and we have the 19 strategies, and every single strategy has some sort of program behind it. Yeah. So we're really proud that we're really moving all the strategies forward, but today we're just focusing on the strategic vision of the last 2 years.
Travis.
One question. Great presentation. One on the KPIs when you were discussing down 0.9%. is that measurable there? Is that something that is you're down from your goals, or is that down from previous year?
Good question. It's 0.9 out of 3 points. Yeah. So it's not a percentage, it's a score. So that's part of our resident sentiment study where we ask for support for tourism development. So we ask different ends of a spectrum of, do you support tourism or Oregon becoming an international destination? Do you support advertising Oregon? Do you support investing in our facilities? So then people, you know, are somewhere on the spectrum. So that's why you see there's negative and there's positive there. So we were at 0.9, which was an increase over the last study. But we want to work hard and, there's always room to do better. So we set that goal of 1, and that's by the end of the 10-year vision.
Okay.
So we really, I believe, are on track to reach that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, not seeing any other, I'm sorry. Commissioner Pendleton.
I just want to say as well, thank you. It was a great presentation. I think for myself, it's really nice to see you here presenting, okay? We hear from Todd, we hear from Petra, which is great, but when they really work to elevate other team members and get them here in front of the commission, that's very meaningful, and to me, that helps support our team's career growth in many ways. So this is exciting, and I'm happy to see over the last several years we've seen more of this, and I hope it just continues. Thank you.
It might be the last time we'll see Hannah Hicks.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
All right. Well, Petra, Hannah, thank you. And again, Hannah, great job. I'm sure the folks back in North Carolina wish we had the closed circuit TV in the living room watching them cheer for you.
Good job.
Yeah. Commissioners, that concludes the reports and updates portion of our meeting today. As you've heard me say on numerous occasions, this is one of the ways that we as their staff team want to be held accountable to you. You are the body that is ultimately responsible for adopting the plans, adopting the budgets, and moving those. Then it becomes our job to implement those and report back to you on how those things are going. And the strategic plan progress report is one mechanism for that, of course, which you receive in advance of this meeting. It goes into additional details in depth. But the other is obviously the time that we spend in our briefing and our public meeting, being able to share out with you either on a specific program or something, as Hannah just presented here, something far more comprehensive in terms of how several different initiatives were moved forward over the course of the last biennium. So I definitely appreciate your attention and your engagement in that, and I hope you are feeling a level of trust and confidence in the staff team. Commissioner Pendleton, your comment in particular about you hear from me enough, you hear from, being able to hear from the subject matter experts, that's incredibly important to me. I'm glad it has value for you, and I'm sure for the rest of the commissioners as well. I think it's important for you to hear directly from the folks that are carrying out this work day to day, so that you have a sense of the depth and the breadth of the experience and the talent of the team that works for you at Travel Oregon. So thank you for that comment. And with that, Chair Willits, I'll turn the agenda back over to you.
Thank you, Todd and Hannah. I wish you had told me that your parents were watching. I would have been a little more polished with my delivery as well. There's a lot of pressure now, all the way back to North Carolina. All right, we have reached the end of the agenda today, and I'm going to say as we leave, I think the halibut and cod and clams are happy we're leaving, because we have consumed a lot of those delicacies while we've been here this week. But I need to do a little acknowledgement here today, so please bear with me as I acknowledge some great work and great people that are in transition right now. I'd like to share my appreciation for our partners at the Central Coast and welcoming us to the beautiful area of this state. It was truly special to be here, and we felt welcomed as a commission. We felt involved in your community, and you gave us the extra credit tours and extra credit inspiration to return here and enjoy this part of the country or state. Today is also special for a few more reasons. and this one's about Lucinda. On behalf of the commission, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to Lucinda DeNovo for her outstanding service as chair of Travel Oregon. Lucinda's leadership has been defined by her dedication to doing things the right way, ensuring that processes were strengthened, communication improved, and every decision thoroughly vetted to protect the integrity of the agency. She brought a commitment to excellence that has left a lasting mark on the organization. I will admit, it was only after stepping into this role that I began to truly understand the tremendous workload she shouldered. To put it in perspective, the hours Lucinda dedicated to this commission equate to driving around the world more than 2 times. And I'm being serious with these hours. I was party to them. I didn't do all the work she did, but it was a tremendous amount of work to be where we're at today. It is also equates to 1,440,000 calories on a stationary bike. And to note the most important thing, it equates to 2,880 2-mile walks on the beach with someone you love. That level of commitment represents not only an incredible investment of time and energy, but also a personal sacrifice to ensure Travel Oregon was left in a stronger position than when she assumed leadership. Lucinda, we are deeply grateful for your service and hope to honor I hope to honor your example by working just as hard on behalf of the commission and our industry. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. I know you'll be surprised to know that I do have a sentence or two that a remark that I do want to make. I first want to say that when Commissioner Youngblood asked me to consider a role of leadership in 2022, it was quite honestly the furthest thing from my mind. I had just lost my husband, Don Ivey, chief of the Kokol Indian tribe, less than a year earlier. And at the time, I was simply trying to put one foot in front of the other, committed only to honoring his legacy. Quite honestly, for all the hours I've given, it is I who want to thank you, this entire commission, this entire staff, this incredible industry. Serving in a leadership capacity gave me a way to channel my grief into meaningful work, supporting the Tribal Tourism Work Group, contributing to the 10-year strategic vision and advancing the incredible efforts of tourism across this great state. It has been my greatest honor to represent this industry and to work alongside this incredibly talented team and commission. This work hasn't always been easy, but the things worth doing rarely are. And I'm so incredibly proud of what we've accomplished and even more excited for about what we can accomplish in the future. And on a personal note, what I do know unequivocally is I have indeed honored my husband's legacy by doing the good work, being in service to others, simply because it is the right thing to do. So I thank all of you for this opportunity to serve in this role. Thanks.
And you're officially family. Yeah.
I'd like to say one thing. Lucinda, it's been a pleasure having you as chair as well. I think a lot of people look at this commission, as many others and boards, as just a volunteer. We show up, have a nice dinner, we laugh and joke, and we go home. But I've had the opportunity to see the efforts you put into this. You know, you have another job. You also, you know, you're so committed to your family, the legacy of your past husband. I mean, I've seen the ups and downs, and you had to endure all the phone calls from me. I will say that I'm very pleased to have had you as chair, and look forward to continuing, hopefully, a long-term friendship as well. Thank you.
I'd like to add something to that. That Lucinda, not only you worked countless hours, but you worked hard with your heart in it. And you led with strength, but even more important, with kindness. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Second, on behalf of the commission, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to Erin Stevenson for her 4 years of dedicated service to the Tourism Commission. Her professionalism, commitment, and thoughtful contributions will be deeply missed. Throughout her term, Erin consistently provided valuable insights, often raising perspectives that might not otherwise have been represented in the room. She did so without weighted expectation on swaying opinion, but always with the intent to strengthen our work and the work of Travel Oregon through sincere dialogue. If Erin demonstrated any bias, it was in favor of honesty, transparency, and caution, qualities that elevated our discussions and helped to guide us towards well-considered decisions. We thank her for her commitment and service, and we wish her the very best in her future endeavors. Thank you, Erin, virtually or out in the Oregon somewhere. And today marks another milestone, and I think everybody in this room felt his passion every single time he was in the room, but also specifically today, some of the emotions of leaving this and leaving it better than when you showed up, Scott. Today marks Commissioner Scott Youngblood's final meeting. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Commissioner Scott Youngblood for his years of dedicated service to the Oregon Tourism Commission. Over the course of his tenure, Scott served in a variety of roles, including chair, and consistently stepped forward whenever additional service was needed, even when asked by the governor to prolong his term. His willingness to lead and to contribute wherever needed has been exemplary. And if you do not know this, if you ask him to do something, he will do it, regardless of what it is, or how hard it is, or how inconvenient it is. He does it because he's that vested. Scott's devotion to Oregon and his steadfast encouragement of all things that make our state remarkable has been evident across each of his terms. His passionate appreciation for the work being managed both within and beyond this organization set him apart in ways that enrich the presentations and conversations. And since we're on conversations, all of this was delivered in a tone and cadence uniquely his own. Always memorable, always impactful. Scott, your presence will be deeply missed, and we thank you sincerely for your service and commitment. And that silence has got to be impactful to you, right there.
Thank you.
Scott Youngblood.
Oh, man.
Thanks.
Can I add something to it?
And I would like to add something as well.
I mean, I don't know what can you say about Scott, but Scott, thanks for all these years and wealth of experience. You know, you had a unique voice that, you know, always contributed something to the conversation. You know, you kind of gave us all some advice. We laughed. Your candor sometimes was stronger than the coffee and woke me up. But thank you for your service.
Thank you for
No,
accepting my apology.
Okay. I'm sure everyone's got a lot to share with you about your work here, but I just want to say it's been a pleasure getting to know you. I think what's more important is the work you do outside of this commission to help other people. So I hope you continue that path in the work that you do.
Okay, you're crying, so you know
Hey,
I'm gonna
Scott,
cry.
I just appreciate the privilege of able to serve on this commission with you the last 2 years. I've learned an immense amount of the processes, and your dedication to this commission has been just, it goes beyond words. So appreciate everything you've done, and I'm a better person for, being able to know you. So also, I wanted to give you.
Greg just referenced the hundreds of hours that I've given, and we can take those hours and times them by 5 for all the time that you've given this agency, this industry. You led us through a worldwide pandemic.
It wasn't my fault.
You instituted, Commissioner Grummels mentioned the commissioner training. You instituted that program, and we have continued to advance it. And I think that's what I appreciate most about this commission is we start these practices and we just continue to improve upon them. It's going to be really difficult to improve upon you, my friend. You come to these commission meetings so incredibly knowledgeable, informed, engaged. The way in which you articulate a message is so incredibly powerful about the value of tourism, about the value of this industry in the state of Oregon. We talk about being in service to others. You're not only in service to this entire state, but you have been in service to each and every one of us commissioners. I have called you many times not knowing quite what to do, and you've always been the voice of reason. Sometimes for me. So I want to thank you just for your incredible leadership to this agency and commission. Thanks.
And I just want to put one thing, Scott, the commission will not feel the same without you. It'll feel a little different, so we'll miss you.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. My propensity for choking up is embarrassing. I'm grateful to Travel Oregon, to my colleagues on the commission, to all of you for the opportunity you've given. Dry up. It has been an incredible joy, so thank you. You are all so passionate about the work that we get to do, place that we get to do it, and the people. So I knew I wasn't going to get through today without choking up, and there was a message that I was hopeful to bring with me, and so I hedged my bets, and Matt was kind enough to print copies of an op-ed from the Portland Business Journal to put on the table in the back of the room for y'all as takeaways. It was a message that I was hoping to carry into the meeting today and to be able to share, and if I can maintain a moment of composure, I'll try a little bit. Past Chair DeNovo, Commissioner Rowe, many of you have acknowledged that this is a tough time right now. One of the things in terms of economic uncertainty that makes this a tough time we keep talking about, and that's tariffs and the cost of importing goods. This op-ed that I was hopeful to share with you all was written by Monique Claiborne, the president and CEO of Greater Portland, Inc., and I just stumbled across it last week. And she specifically talks about tourism as not only and export. And for those of you in the room that deal with this every day, you understand that we think of tourism as an economic export, someone else's money coming here. Am I getting this right? Yeah. And that tourism is a traded sector economy, without which, the humorous analogy that I like to think about, without bringing other people's investment into our economy, we would all be sitting around selling one another haircuts. And so we have industry.traveloregon.com. Many of you look at it every month or more often. I know I do. And we talk about these numbers that many of us memorize by rote. It's our elevator speech. It's that opportunity to talk with an elected official. But the challenge that I'd like to leave you all with is to continue to champion the value of tourism as an economic engine, as an employment engine, and as a way to strengthen the communities that we live in. And then go ahead and read the rest, because Ms. Claiborne does a much better job of articulating it than I do. Don, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you. Are there any additional business or announcements from commissioners at this point? We did a lot today. Our next meeting will be held December 3rd in the Willamette Valley. For more information on that will be posted to the industry website as soon as it's available. I'd like to thank staff and our local partners for a wonderful meeting and for wonderful contributions. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful drive home and a wonderful day. Thank you.